Okay, this stuff is cooled off enough, I think, that, and I got, this feels nice and warm. I was able to clean everything up and disinfect, and we want to keep everything real clean. Bacteria is the enemy. So, I go out and I just take these and I start laying them out. You guys have probably already seen a million dehydrators, so I probably don't need to be showing you this part, but either way, this is how it goes. Lay these out nice, and some people say it doesn't matter how close or far you put them. I have found that the thickness of the meat and how close you put them together determines how long it takes for it to get done. Some of these pieces, the real thick ones, will probably take as long as 11 or 12 hours. Some people say it should take longer than that. Like I say, I don't like it to be rock hard. I like to actually enjoy the stuff. But some of the real thin, small pieces may be done as soon as 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours. You'll notice right away, it'll start to change. It'll start to dry out right away. Within an hour or two, you see a difference in the meat. I may not be putting these on as close as they should be. I want to be able to get them all in here. Just keep loading up the racks. These dehydrators are pretty cheap. You can get them, I know, at the same places that you can order the spices and curing salts from, but also any of the big box chain stores sell these kinds of things, and even some places have them. Local hardware stores sometimes will carry them at certain times of the year. So a dehydrator is awesome to have. They're pretty cheap. They're not the most efficient thing, but as far as energy goes, but they're way worth it. If you're into doing it your own style, if you just want to pack a jerky, I think it's actually cheaper to just go to the store and buy a pack. But there's something to, the bragging rights and knowing exactly what went into this. I mean, I know what these animals ate, and the fact that there was no weird anything added anywhere along the way, whether it was their food, during the butchering, the packaging process, every bit of it, I know what happened. And so that gives me peace of mind in some sense. And the same thing with the spices. I know exactly what spices are on these, and as far as preservatives go, the only preservative is curing salts, coarse salt. So none of the weird chemically engineered stuff that everybody seems to have different opinion on. But if it's a mystery, I don't want it in my body, that's all. So I'm getting close to having these in here. I don't know if you can even hear me with how loud this thing is. I do have two of these, and they both behave very differently. One is much quieter, but it takes forever to get the stuff done. This one, it is loud, but it's working. It's drawing that moisture right out of the meat. This is set on the highest setting. I think it's like 150 degrees or something. Just laying these out. One more tray. And I have found myself a piece of fat on one of these, or connective tissue anyway. So I've got to cut that off. We could leave it on there and try to peel it out later, but it'd be a wicked pain. So there we go. Last tray. I mean, I have more of these trays, but that's all we need. Put the lid on. And now I can go take a shower. Now this is just an hour after I've started here. I want you to take a look at this. 1 hour into the process. it's already starting to look a little more like jerky. And if I take this off here and look at the bottom tends to be a little warmer. So when those get looking a lot different than the ones on top, I'll rotate the whole works. Put everything that's on the bottom in the top and vice versa. Just go through the whole rack system like that. Like here's the middle. Those guys aren't doing too bad. Anyway, we'll check it back in a little bit. Not quite 2 hours. And we're gonna take a look and see what's going on inside. You can see you want to get them flipped over. This is more imperative, I guess, if you're using ground meat. I a lot of times would use ground meat, and that likes to get stuck in between those the tray liner or whatever. Anyway, so now I'm going to go through and rotate him. So I'm just going to take this whole thing right off of here, and then one by one lay them back on top. The ones from the top successively on top of the other one, and that makes them upside down. So, and then along the way I'm flipping these over so they don't get stuck. Because if you leave it on there, or at least in my experience, if I leave it on there the whole drying process like that, they end up completely and totally stuck to the tray. Always want to make sure you have clean fingers for this, and wash your fingers afterward. All kind of weird bacterias and things can grow. We'll check back in a little bit. Okay, we're at the, what is it, 3.5 hours? 3.5 hour point. Take another look at it. These guys on top are still looking pretty juicy. You can see I can still squeeze this stuff. So obviously they've got a ways to go, but these are the thicker pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the switch again. This time I'm not going to bother flipping them over, but I am going to rotate the bottom and top, and I'll show you why. These being the ones from the top, now the bottom. I'm just going to wind these around. You're seeing as I'm getting closer to what was the bottom, it's looking a little more like jerky. And I'll leave that go like that probably for a good portion of the rest of the deal. Of course, some of these like this, you can see is getting pretty crunchy and crispy. Well, this part of it is. Actually, I can just pull that off of there. That one will end up being done sooner than the rest of this, which again is still, that's pretty thick. Like, whatever. There's no perfect way to do it. It's organic, right? Ergonomic. Anyway, this is the progress. This one is getting closer too. You can see through it. See how it's translucent? Pretty cool. That one's getting real close. That's probably got another hour or so. But anyway, that's the update as of thus far. I'll probably do one more before I go to bed. All right. went to bed, but I'm back out checking on this. I've pulled a few pieces off. Now what I do is I grab a piece and I squeeze it. And the best way I can describe this to you is that it's not mushy, it's more springy or rubbery and bounces back. I can't really show it in a video, but I just feel it. And that's the best way I can describe it, is just the squeeze. And if it bounces right back, more rubbery, then that's what we're looking for. And I just go through and squeeze them all to find out. Do a little consolidation here. And in the end, I'm taking these pieces off here. And you'll see they've got some oil or fat that's building up on them. I just take a paper towel and blot those off. These are all still warm. You'll want to let them cool off. But blot off all that oil. And luckily, when you use a real lean meat, you pretty much only have to do this right at the very end. If you're doing stuff like ground meat, like burger specifically, and at that point you're using the caulking injector thing to squirt them out. Anyway, those you kind of have to do it all along the way, but here, once at the end is good enough. And there's the jerky, and now all you got to do is let it cool off and package it up. And if you want to, you know, just put it in a Ziploc baggie or whatever kind of bag you want. It'll last, this stuff will last 6 months, 8 months, even longer, you know, probably up to a year without the flavor being grossed out. Even longer. You can vacuum seal it in a vacuum seal bag, and then like almost indefinitely, if you wanted to, then freeze that bag. You know, you could keep this stuff for quite a long time and not have it affect the flavor. But I don't see this stuff lasting through the end of the week, honestly, where I live and the guys I work with. And this is what your final product should look like. Jerky. Honestly, a lot of people can't even tell the difference. If you call it beef, they'll think it's beef. Either way, I just want to show you that when you take the jerky, and open it, it should be tough, and it should also be like white. Can you see that? Like white in the middle. There should be no juice of any kind. Anyway, that's it. That's the stuff. I got lots of it. Been giving it away. Tom loves it. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks to all my new subscribers. This is JimiKiwi. Thanks for watching me do the pig jerky.